Hi everyone, welcome to Make Moments Matter, a music education podcast, where I share lesson ideas, songs, games, and inspiring things for your elementary music classroom. My name is David Rao, and I am the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. This episode of the podcast is a replay containing the audio version of a Musical Mondays live video. If you're not familiar with Musical Mondays, every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I go live on Facebook and Instagram to share about the lessons that I'm using in class with my students. I give a recap of my kindergarten through 5th grade lessons, and then do a deep dive about one grade level and share the books, instruments, songs, and process that I use to teach the lesson to kids. This podcast episode contains all the audio from the Musical Mondays video, but if you'd like to see a replay of the video itself, you can find a link to the archived video on YouTube when you click the link in the notes for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Here's the show. Hey everyone, my name is David Rao, and I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can also find my ideas on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, and a variety of other places when you search for my name, David Rao, or Make Moments Matter. Tonight, I'm going to share another use it and lose it, some ideas about things that you might want to incorporate or take out of your teaching practice. And tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about lesson extensions. What can you do to elongate and add to content, songs, games you already use to get more out of your lessons? That's coming up in just a second. Just a couple quick reminders. If you hear me talk about a book or a resource or an idea and you're very interested in that, you want to learn more, I have a whole page on my blog dedicated to the links I talk about in these videos. You can go to makemomentsmatter.org and click the video tab with the drop down for this year, or just wherever you're watching, listening to this, there should be a link at the bottom of the caption to help you find the links page. Another thing, this Saturday, if you are in Michigan, if you're a Michigan music teacher, please come join us for the Michigan Music Educators Association Fall Conference. I'm going to be there this Saturday presenting 3 workshops. There are going to be a ton of other really great presenters and teachers who are sharing ideas as well. It's all at Wayne State University in Greater Detroit. I hope you'll come out and join us. If I remember correctly, lunch is provided. What? And you can get sketches for not a lot of money. And if you're not a Michigan teacher, you're like, what are sketches? It's or skeeches, whatever you call them. It's like basically continuing education credits. Anyway, if you're in Michigan, come join us. It's going to be so much fun. Okay, and one more final thing. So this last month, I've been talking about Latinx and Hispanic Heritage Month, talking about books that you can use, resources you might be interested in. And one of the things I want to share is that that just ended yesterday because it runs September 15th through October 15th. But starting November 1st will be another Heritage or History Month, and it's Native American History Month. And also you can celebrate Indigenous people from all around the world, but especially those who live in our country or who live in North America, because I try and highlight for my students tribes and cultures who live in the area where we currently live. And so anyway, something to start thinking about: what resources can you pull, what books can you look for. Now is a great time to start looking for those books so that you have them pulled, so you can have them on hold at the library, or you can go buy them so you have them available starting November 1st, which is the start of the month. So like this book, Walking Eagle, the Little Comanche Boy, this is written by Ana Ulate and Nivola Uya, and it's just really, really beautiful. I'm coming up with a couple more lesson ideas of how I want to use that one in my classroom. I've used it a couple times already, but I want to keep thinking about it, so that's why I have it here on my desk right now. But this is me saying, like, go look for those books now. There is a whole I have a list on my Amazon page, like ideas list, full of the books that I found that I think have great themes or musical connections or things that you can pull out to use in the classroom. That's linked on the links page if you want to go look at some of those books. But as always, if you have great suggestions about books that I should check out for both Native Americans and also First Nations from around the world, please send me those ideas. I'd love to add them to my my own bookshelf, but also be able to share them with other folks from around the world. So if you have ideas, send them my way. Okay, so my use it and lose it this week. They're not necessarily connected, but sort of. And so my Lose It came as I was sitting in a workshop, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. My local ORF chapter, the one that I'm a member of, the Kansas ORF chapter, had a workshop with the amazing Tiffany English, who is the executive director of the American Orff Schulwerk Association and just a fantastic teacher. And as she was talking, this is why I love going to workshops, because it just got me thinking, and it got me thinking about what is our role as music educators, and what do I really need to be teaching in my classroom? Because she had all these great ideas about how to get your class motivated, and how to be more inclusive, and how to just help with the flow of everything in the classroom. And I don't know, just so many of the things and the lessons, the ideas she shared just really got me thinking. And it made me think back to when I was in college. One of my favorite professors, well, two of my favorite professors, Dr. Charles Robinson and Dr. Joe Parisi, we did this methods class, and in the class they kept saying, like, okay, so who decides? Like, if we're talking about the curriculum that you teach in your classroom, who decides? And they're, like, who decides? And then who decides? So it's trying to figure out, like, okay, well, who decides the curriculum? Well, maybe it's like a local curriculum team. Who decides? Okay, well, the admin for the district, or maybe fine arts admin, get to decide who's on that curriculum team. Who decides? Like, it would just, like, keep following the train, like, to see this cyclical, like, who decides. And it's really funny or fun to do that if you're thinking about different areas of our classroom and different parts of curriculum, and like, who decides these things? The national standards for music education, who decides that? Why do they decide that? Why are those people on a committee? And because that's such a big overarching document, like, it's fun to think about that. But as I was thinking about my specific class, who decides what happens? I decide. And I was thinking about, sometimes when I'm in my class and I get stressed out about, oh my gosh, I have this deadline, or I need to make sure that I teach this concept, or this is coming, I really need to, whatever the thing is, I get stressed out about this, like, impending feeling of, like, impending doom, because, like, I've got to get this done. But who decides that? So much of the time, as I was sitting there in this workshop, and since then, in the, like, 2 weeks since then, I've been thinking, like, who adds this stress? I add this stress. I'm the one who's like, but it's got to happen. I've got to do it. Or, like, it's in the pacing guide or whatever. And what I've come to find is, like, or what I've been thinking about is, like, how much of that pacing guide do I need to do? How much of that impending deadline do I really need to stress about? If I'm the one giving myself the deadline, or if I'm the one thinking through, well, I got to get it done this year, I got to blah, blah, blah. Like, I've been thinking about, like, what is really most important in my classroom? Like, what is my ultimate goal? And I've thought, like, how many teachers do I know? How many friends do I have who are musical? How many people who are so smart and so successful? How many of them had a super great paced out teacher who knew exactly what they're doing, was doing the best pedagogical things, was really, like, so many of my friends, when I talk to them about their elementary music experience or just their music experience, it was a bad experience. Like, and so I think, or maybe not bad, but, like, just not the most, efficient teacher, or most, like, planned out person. Or maybe, I think about what that teacher did in their classroom and trying to understand and process it as a teacher now. And I think, oh my gosh, well, if my friend who is now an amazing music teacher, or my friend who is a great musician, or my friend who is a part of the community choir, or my friend, who have had these, who are now musical, are still musical, who are still a part of the community, still doing great things, or still just love music and love being a part of it. If they had a bad experience in their elementary formative years, and I am, like, doing my very best, but maybe not hitting, like, the intense goals I'm setting for myself, I think my students are going to be okay. Like, if I think about all these people who are doing really amazing things, and they came from, like, a really bad, maybe even had teachers who said, like, you can't sing, or have discouraged them. If they made it through all of that and are doing great, then my students, if I don't get to 16th and 8th note combinations, if we don't get to, like, T-ticka or ticka-T or whatever, or ta-di-mi, Taka D. If we don't get to that, it's probably fine, right? Like, it's in the pacing guide. If we don't get to the modes or we don't get to the whatever, that's probably fine. I kept thinking, like, as I was sitting in, and thinking about my classroom, thinking like, okay, well, I need to talk less, and I need to do more games, and I need to make sure that I integrate this content, or what, like, I was thinking about all these things, like, oh, I should do this, I need to make a list, and then I was like, you know what? But ultimately, I just want my kids to feel safe in my classroom. I want them to have fun. I want them to walk out loving music. And so I think my lose it for this week is, like, lose these self-imposed goals that you're putting on yourself, or that you feel are put upon yourself, and really think ultimately, like, what is my ultimate goal? My ultimate goal is that I want students to leave my classroom and to love music, or to feel that they can participate, or to walk out and, feel like they can sing along to the radio or sing happy birthday at a restaurant, or what, like, I want them to be engaged music makers. It doesn't matter so much if we don't hit all the things in this wonderful pacing guide. If we don't get to all that, that's okay. I want kids to love music, and I want them to remember that they had a great experience and feel like they can continue doing that. Because that's, like, our ultimate goal, right? Like, we want students to be active in music their whole life. And, okay, again, I've said this before, no shade to secondary music educators. I am so in awe of all the great things that they do. Like, I love, not even just like, oh, I heard it Allstate. Like, I love going to, like, my local choir concert, like, at the school that doesn't go, like, maybe doesn't go to wherever, just does shows at our school, or maybe doesn't even do contests. I don't know. But, like, not even just Allstate, like, performance choirs. I love going to those secondary concerts, because I know they do so much work. So, I'll have to say, no shade to secondary music educators, but when our kids leave our classroom and they're like, oh yeah, we can do 16th notes and 16th, 8th combinations, we're playing in modes and we're doing whatever, and the first thing they hit in middle school band is whole notes and half notes. So again, all this to say, like, if I'm doing my very best in my classroom and I am getting as much through the pacing guide as I can, and I'm giving kids beautiful, amazing experiences and teaching them to love music, that's most important. If I miss a couple things on that pacing guide, or I don't hit these goals I'm giving to myself, if I really want to do X, Y, and Z by the first quarter, that's okay. That's okay. Anyway, this is just my pep talk to say, like, go out and do what you do, and don't be stressed out by goals that probably only you is going to enforce. Your principal's not going to know if you're on your pacing guide or not, unless they are a former music teacher. Like, your families are not going to be like, well, I was looking at the standards for second quarter, and I don't see that so-and-so. Like, that's probably not going to happen. Probably you are the gatekeeper for your own curriculum, and so if you're not hitting all those goals, it's okay. Okay, so that said, let's talk about my use it for the week, ways to extend your lessons. And I'm going to share a couple lessons and just a couple little extensions that I've done, because I stressed out so much about, I got to get this thing in the pacing guide, I got to do X, Y, and Z. And so I was stressed about, like, how am I going to do all of that? And so these are a couple things that I did to ease that stress and give myself not only another chance to integrate content in another way, but also just, like, de-stress and have some fun. And a couple of these are things that happened to me today in my lessons. Because, again, I was thinking ahead to a class I was about to walk in, and I was like, I got to do this. And then I was like, you know what? All of elementary is just a lab. We're going to have fun. We're going to get to as much as we can. And if it's not exactly like the other class, we don't get to end where they end, or we don't, whatever, like, that's okay. So anyway, just to say, this is coming from my lessons this actual week. So if you're thinking, like, I have this basic song, I have this folk song, what are the next steps? Because I remember when I was a younger teacher thinking, like, okay, this song, this Halloween song or this fall song or whatever, it's like 30 seconds long. How am I supposed to make a lesson out of this? And I didn't know. And I was talking to someone else at the workshop this last weekend, where I shared with the Northwest Ohio Orff chapter. One of the folks who was driving me back from the workshop to the airport, we were talking about, when we were younger teachers, and how it's like, oh my gosh, what if I have an extra 10 minutes at the end of class? And now I'm like, I need 10 more minutes, because I don't ever have that, like, flop sweat of, like, oh no, I don't have enough content. Now I have too much. But how did I get from one place to the next? So here are a couple of the things that I've done to help sort of extend a little bit. So the first thing is you can always add a B section or a C or a D or whatever. You can always add more to a song. So an example, one that I'm doing right now with my first graders. I did a blog post about this. It's linked on the links page if you're interested. But the song goes, the pumpkin on the vine, the pumpkin on the vine. I picked the one that weighed a ton. That's the one that's mine. It's so short, right? How are you going to develop a lesson out of that? And by the way, that's a song that I learned from Mrs. Riddick when I was like, I don't know, a second grader or something. So just a silly song from long, long, long ago. Well, one of the things that I did was we added movement, right? So we added like a little, this is the vine in like super fast speed. It's moving, it's growing. I picked the one that weighed a ton. That's the one. So we pantomime picking up a huge pumpkin and oh my gosh, it weighs so much. Okay, so that was maybe like the first thing that we did, was just to add a little bit of movement, just to illustrate the story just in another way. Then I added a B section. And so the B section that I just made up years ago goes like this. Pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin on the vine. Pumpkin, pumpkin, that's the one that's mine. Not fancy, not exciting, very simple, but different from the A section. I think that originally I wanted to, number one, extend the song, but number two, I wanted to talk about A-B form. And so the two parts are very different. So the A section is the pumpkin on the vine, the pumpkin on the vine. I picked the one that weighed a ton, that's the one that's mine. And then B, pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin on the vine. Pumpkin, pumpkin, that's the one that's mine. So I just added that B section, and then what I do with my kids is we do A, B, and then I say, you know, what if I wanted the A section back and I put up a visual A, B, A? What if we want another B, A, B, A, B? What if we flip them around, A, B, B, A? How about A, B, B? So we sing through all of those different options, and it gives us a chance to sort of play around with the form, but also extends the lesson. So the goal is then, we're talking about form, we're talking about A, B form, we're talking about how those two different parts can be moved around for like infinite combinations. To help kids see and feel that difference again, I let them move in a locomotor way on the A section. So instead of just your hand moving as a vine, you're moving around the room and your vine hand is leading you. And then the B section, you go, pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin on the vine. Because, just something silly to sort of show a separation. So the A section is locomotor, the B section is non-locomotor. Locomotor being you're traveling, non-locomotor meaning you're moving, but you're staying in your place. You're staying in one spot. So that further reinforces the difference between A and B, right? Because one is locomotor, one is not. What if I wanted to add another section? Why don't I just add a section number C that's just echo? So if I wanted like echo clapping, I want kids to repeat after me. That could be a section C. So the pumpkin on the vine, the pumpkin on the vine, pick the one that weighed a ton, that's the ton. That could be A. Pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin on the vine, pumpkin, pumpkin, that's the one that's mine. C, and then I could do. Or whatever length that you want them to echo. And then that could be another part. And then, if you had visuals for it, you could have an A visual, a B visual, a C visual, and you could have kids come up and rearrange. You could have A, B, C, 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 A, A, B, C, A, B, B, C, C, A, A. Whatever. You could, it could go, again, it extends your lesson, infinite possibilities, and then there's this super huge focus on form and how form can be rearranged, all these different combinations, but you're extending the lesson, you're giving them lots of great practice. They're getting good practice on so, mi, so, mi, so, la, so, mi. They're getting that in the B section. They're getting echo clapping on the C section. I mean, there's so much. Want to add another part? Add D. Have non-pitch percussion instruments that you can play, or whatever. But it just keeps adding and changing. That's one way you can extend a lesson, is just to play with the form. Add a section, add a new thing, add something different. It does not have to be related to the original song, but it can be, You can add it non-pitched, you can add it pitched, you can add it, a section for vocal exploration, whatever. There are so many things that you can do. Another way you can do is to play around with the extras that go with it, like maybe with the dance. So, Another song that I've done with my students, and I did it today, is the song Dippy Doo. I've talked about it in previous years. On the links page is a link to the notation and also to that previous video where I talked about the song. But quickly, the song goes, good day to you. Good day, oh Dippy Doo. Good day to you. Good day, oh Dippy Doo. Dip, dip, dippy doo, oh dippy doo. Dip, 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 dippy doo, oh dippy doo. Now, this is another A-B song where the A and the B are pretty different. Actually, in this one, the A section is in 3 and the B section is in 4. So that's pretty different, right? But what I have my students do is we're learning it. We learn it in a circle. On the A section, we just wave at each other. Good day to you. Good day, oh dippy doo. Good day to you. Good day, oh dippy doo. And then for the B section, we did pats and claps. Dip, dip, dippy doo, oh dippy doo. Dip, 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 dippy doo, oh dippy doo. Now we've done versions of that for the last couple weeks. I only take about a minute, 2 minutes. We taught it the first week, and the next time it's just like our welcome song. We just ran through it 2 or 3 times. We've done that for enough weeks that they know it pretty well. So this time, we did the waiting on the A section. We sang through. We did that. Instead of doing pat, clap, pat, clap, pat, clap, on pat, clap, because we've done that before, I had them find a partner, and they did pat with your partner, clap, pat with your partner, clap, pat your partner's hands, clap, sort of like a patty cake, like you pat with your partner, right? And then that's really fun because the dip, 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 dippy, doo, they really like that. And then, since we're in a circle, I said turn the other way and pat the other side. And so we did the same thing just with the other side. My ultimate goal is to have them have one hand on each side so that then we're connected in the big circle around the edge of the circle. So my right hand is touching my partner's left hand. My left hand is touching the other partner on the other side's right hand. And we're making a big sort of ring around the circle. And so then dip, dip, dippy doo. So that's one thing that I've done in the past. That's the version I originally learned, but I was like, what if we did it different? So today, what I did, because you could tell they were a little wiggly, they needed to move. On the A section, I said, move locomotor throughout the room. So they walked around, waved each other, they smiled, they welcomed one another. At the end, they had to find a partner, and they had to dip, 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 the patty cake version that we had just done. And then we moved locomotor on the A section, find a new partner, dip, dip, dippy dip. So it's sort of similar. It's the same song. We're just changing little elements, and we're adding or changing or whatever to make it fresh and different for kids, but also to shake them up a little bit. I've never done it like this, where they walked around the room locomotor, but it worked so well. And they, for the most part, and they found different partners, and it was fun, and they tried, and it was a great sort of mixer lead in for the class. So that's another way that I just took the song that we've always done and just played around with it and changed it up a little bit. So don't feel like, okay, well, the way I've always done it is with my partners on the side or whatever. You can try new things. Sometimes I try stuff like that and it bombs. Or it works for one class but not another. That doesn't mean that it's not a good idea. It means that it works for one class and not for another. So if you're trying out new things, it's like I said, I went into this day and I was like, elementary is like a lab. We're just, and by that I mean we're exploring, we're trying new things. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And so it was okay for me to you know what? Now we're going to do locomotor on this part. Let's see what that's like, And so it's fun to explore and try. This is me encouraging you to do that. One more thing you can do, especially if you're on an instrumental piece, you're teaching a part for pitch percussion. Let's say you have kids out on the Orff instruments like xylophones, metallophones, glockenspiels, things like that, and maybe you're teaching them a song. What are some things you can do? Well, the cool thing is there's an infinite amount of things you can do. So, example, maybe I teach my kids a really simple song. Maybe I have them work out the melody. Maybe I teach them the melody to play. Although I like to have them, if they know it well enough and they sung it enough times, to be like, here's the starting note. See if you can figure out this first part. Or, if it's a short song, see if you can figure out the song. And so to let them sort of explore and try, that's fun. Another thing you can have them do, you can have half the class sing the song while the other half just keeps a steady beat on a drone or bordun, whatever you call it, like a C and G, like an open fifth. Have them keep the steady beat while the other half sings. You can always have them switch and flip flop. You can have them keep that drone pattern, that open fifth, and play on a steady beat while they sing. That's so much that you can do. You can also have them echo you. You can play a little piece and they can echo back. If you don't think they can play like a melody, like if you don't think they dun 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 bum 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 dun dun dun, or because that was a very short example of like dun 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 bum bum bum. If you don't think that they can hear that and repeat back, choose just one bar. I do this all the time where I start with like just the biggest bar, C, bum 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 bum, and they repeat bum 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 bum, where I just have them echo back like that, and then maybe I open it up to a set of 3, bum 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 bum, and if they're used to hearing that main first note enough, they'll know I'll start there. Or I could even say I'm going to start this on C. It's just like ear training. It's simple, it's basic, but it's really valuable. Another thing you can do to extend those instrumental lessons, have them rotate to another instrument. Have them switch, have them move over, have them pair off with another kid and have them work together. One kid watches, one kid plays, then switch, one kid plays, one kid, there's so many things you can do with that sort of a lesson. But in that instance, I never feel like, okay, they must play only this one part. There's so much value from them playing and singing, switching, doing the melody, doing the accompaniment, doing both, doing a melodic ostinato or a rhythmic ostinato. And there are just so many extra little things you can do if you have some or all of your kids on instruments. So don't feel like, okay, they got to play the melody. Or don't feel like they have to do the harmonic part. They can do all of the things. And in fact, that's a very Orff Schulwerk idea, is like all kids can play all things, and you can do it in various different combinations. But like my 5th graders, we're learning a song for our big concert that's coming up, and they're learning all the parts. They're learning the melody, they're learning the counter melody, they're learning the rhythmic parts, they're learning all of it. I'm even just, doing sometimes where it's like, okay, you all got to keep the steady beat because we need something to keep us together while we're learning the melody. It's not really part of the arrangement, but like we need it in this moment right now. And so letting kids sort of explore and try all those things, it's a great thing. You could even if you're like, I want to add another element to the song, you can add another section. Instead of it being melodic, you could have them do, pick up their mallets and just click back to you. That you can take the melodic element out and just have them repeat back rhythms just on their sticks. So never feel like you're stuck with just that one thing. There are so many things you can do. So I just talked about like add a B section, add a C, add a D, and then play around with the form of that. I talked about how you can take something you've already done, like maybe a dance, and sort of shuffle it and do it a different way. Maybe play with locomotor versus non-locomotor, have them switch partners. We talked about some instrumental things you can do, but guess what? You can do that with any and all of your lessons. So what I would encourage you to do this week is, as you're going through a lesson or as you're thinking out a lesson, think like, what else could I do? How could I take this, instead of teaching a whole other song to do this other concept, or instead of, pulling back this other thing I've already done, here's the song I'm using. How can I take this song and content I'm already using and just develop it and play more and add with it more so that I'm not, taking time away from this content to do something else? How can I just take it and extend it and do so much more? Okay, so I hope that gives you a few ideas. Thanks so much for coming along with me this week and talking about some things that are happening in the classroom. I hope you'll join me next week for another Musical Mondays video. If you're in Michigan this week, I hope you'll join us on Saturday for the Michigan Music Educators Fall Conference. That's at Wayne State University in Greater Detroit. I'll be there on Saturday. I'm doing 3 sessions. I'm doing a folk song session, a children's literature session, and a session about improvisational structures, things you can use to help kids be more successful. If you're a Michigan teacher, I hope you'll come and join us. If not, I hope I'll see you all next Monday for another Musical Mondays live video. Thanks so much, everyone.